Hey everybody, American OG Son here, and today you get two videos. I made one about coffee earlier. Check that one out. With all the political stuff that's gone on lately, you might think that I was going to make some kind of a big political video. I'm not. I'm tired of it. I'm going to take a break from it for a little while. I'm tired of worrying about it. Still going to be very much watching it and being active and all that stuff, but today's just a break from that. Today we're going to talk about wild animals. There's three stories I've seen this morning about people interacting with animals, and the first one comes out of Kansas City. There's a guy up there that they took a 7-foot alligator, out of his house. This is in the middle of Kansas City, and this guy was keeping this thing as a pet. He was just letting it wander around his house, just like a dog out of a cage. He said it would sit in his lap, and while I don't doubt that, the guy loved the alligator. You could tell he was pretty broken up about it when the animal control came and took it from his house. But this is just a case where this guy is not living in the real world. I mean, I know he wanted to look cool, and he wanted it to make him feel special that he had this pet alligator, and you could tell that this guy was upset about it. But really, I mean, my goodness, guy, it's a 7-foot long alligator. The only reason the alligator didn't eat you is because you were feeding it well. The second you stopped feeding that thing, if it got hungry enough, it would eat you, and you just let it wander around your house. I mean, imagine if some kid or something came into there. I mean, it's just crazy. This is the same type of people that give pit bulls a bad name. They go out and get a pit bull, and they raise the pit bull to be aggressive. And pit bulls are just super loyal dogs, and they will do whatever you ask them to do. They're great dogs. They've got like the best demeanor ever. But if they think that it makes you happy for them to be aggressive, that's what they're going to do. So I mean, it's the same type of deal. That's the reason you can't have an alligator in the middle of Kansas City. And that's the reason why, a lot of cities are passing pit bull bans. And believe me, I don't blame the breed at all. They're great dogs. I love pit bulls. I've had a couple now, and they've been the best dogs I've ever had. But it's the idiots that get them, that raise them, because they think it makes them look cool. Because, it's like having a gun. It's like having a loaded gun walking around if you've trained this dog to be aggressive. You could take a German Shepherd, you could take a Golden Lab, you could take any dog you want and raise them to be just as aggressive as a pit bull. And it's the same effect, just pit bulls look meaner, they're tougher, they got the reputation, like Rottweilers, like Doberman Pinschers. They're great dogs. They're all great dogs. They all have great personalities, and they're super loyal. But it's the assholes that get them to raise them to be weapons, because they're little thug punks that thinks it makes them look tough. And I really don't know anything about this guy in Kansas City with the alligator, but just from the short video clip I saw of him, I mean, this guy didn't need to have an alligator in his house. It almost seemed like the same thing, and this guy didn't seem like a thug or a punk or anything. He seemed like a pretty kind-hearted guy, but just live in the real world, dude. You can't have a 7-foot long alligator roaming around your house. So the happy endings, the animal control took it away, and it's at a sanctuary now where they've got it a nice place to live, and the alligator will probably be much happier. I'm sure, wandering around inside a guy's house, and they said he fed it chicken McNuggets from Wendy's, I guess, because those are the cheapest ones. Maybe the Burger King ones would have been better. They're like $1 for 10 or something. But anyway, this guy didn't need to have this alligator. It's just another case of people getting pets that they think will improve their social status or make them look tough or something that they don't need to have. And it always brings me back to the pit bull situation. Pit bulls are great dogs. They are really great dogs, and they are really family dogs. But if you get some thug, if you get some punk that wants to raise them to show off on how tough they are by, turning this dog into a weapon, then that's where it goes bad. And I can see both sides of the arguments on these pit bull bans. It's the same thing as banning an alligator. I mean, there's a reason for it. If you can't be responsible with it, you don't need to have it. And I don't care what you say. There's no way you can raise an alligator to be a responsible pet, a family pet. That's pretty crazy. But on the other hand, the pit bull, you most certainly can. You can come and pet my pit bull T-Bone anytime you want to. I guarantee you, he'll melt your heart pretty quick. He's just a big old baby. So the second story comes out of Oklahoma, and kind of this typical Oklahoma story. But this guy was making a bonfire for his church, and this deer came out of the woods, a little forkhorn buck, and he came out of the woods and walked right up to him. And that should have been the first red flag. Deer don't usually walk up to people. Just a word of wisdom there. So this deer comes up to this guy, and they're all kind of like standing around like, oh, cool, little deer. And then the next thing you know, this deer starts charging this guy and sticks him a couple times with his antlers. Didn't do any real damage to the guy. Looked like he had some scrapes and a couple of little pokes, but nothing too bad. And then they were able to wrestle the deer off, and the deer went back in the woods. I think the guy said that he wore him out for about 5 minutes, and the deer definitely got the best of the guy. But I mean, you're not going to win that fight anyway. So the thing is, this time of year, deer are in what's called rut. And rut means that they are running on pure instinct, pure hormones. They either want to mate or fight. And luckily for this guy, all this deer wanted to do was fight this time. So he got lucky there. Had this been a big 10, 12 point buck come out of the woods, this guy would have been in real trouble. And it would have took a lot more than him to fight this thing off. He could have really got seriously hurt. So the lesson is that if you see a deer coming up to you, if it's getting closer to you, something's wrong. Get the hell out of there, because it's not going to end well. Deer do not come up to people naturally. So if you're in that situation, if you see a little deer getting close to you, do something about it. Either get away from him, try to scare him off or something, but don't try to stand your ground and fight a deer, because you're going to lose. Now this last story I've got, it's kind of a sad one, and I don't, it's not a funny situation at all, and I know this guy's family is really hurting, so I don't want to make this one sound humorous or anything like that. This guy sounded like he was a really good, kind-hearted guy. But there is a lesson to be learned out of this. So this guy in Utah, and it's a rare incident, so this definitely isn't being made to panic anybody, but a guy in Utah, he died of rabies. And so he'd been sick for a long time, and he felt all these symptoms of rabies, and then finally he succumbed to them, and it's a sad deal for his family. And I really feel for him, because he wasn't that old of a guy, and his family's devastated over this. But what was happening was that he was catching and releasing bats out of his attic. And this was up in Utah, and kind of in the colder weather climates like that, bats are going to try to find shelter in attics, or they love going to attics. Down here in the south, we have bats too, but they get in your house some, but they're there's not a whole lot of bats in the attics here the way there are up north. But this guy was catching bats, and him and his wife really liked the bats, and he would hold the bats and let her pet them and stuff, and then he would go release them. I mean, it's really a kind-hearted thing to do, but he did end up catching rabies, and they say that only 1% of bats in the wild carry rabies, and so I'm not here to panic anybody over bats, but the lesson is that wild animals, all wild animals, you don't just pick them up and pet them. Something as simple as picking up a turtle or a terrapin can get you a real nasty disease. Just leave wild animals in the wild where they belong. I know that it's tempting, and you want to feel like you're the bat whisperer, the animal whisperer, and you want but just leave them alone. They're in the wild, and there's so many diseases and bacterial infections and things of that nature you can get that it's not worth it. Enjoy them, take pictures of them, but don't go pick them up and don't carry them around, because you could get really sick. And unfortunately for this guy and his family, he paid the ultimate price for handling these bats, and it's a really sad deal. And if anything good can come of this, maybe it's just a lesson for everybody that don't go picking up and handling and trying to save these animals by putting your hands on them, because things happen, and there's just, life is so fragile anyway. We never know what's going to do us in, and you just don't want to lose any time you have with your family over something like this. Sad deal. I hated to end that in my stories with a sad one, and I don't mean this to be a downer, but the lessons are all the same. It's all the same lesson. Leave animals in the wild. Don't go handling them. Don't try to interact with them. Don't bring them into your house. Animals are in the wild, and they're just fine right where they're at. There's too many ways that things can go bad if you start messing with them. Till next time, I'll start trying to make videos more consistently, and I know I'm just like every other person on YouTube that says that, but I really will start making an effort to make more of these videos. And if you like it, give me a thumbs up. If you want to comment, tell me how good my hair is, or how much you enjoy the sound of my voice, or anything, or tell me what I need to fix, because I'm just winging this. That's greatly appreciated. And if you really like my content, give me a subscribe, because that's the big deal. I'm not trying to make a living off of this, and I never will. I just want to expand and reach as many folks as I can. So that's really important to me, and I really appreciate it. Until next time, OG-san's got your back, and I will see you in the next video.